welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Well, hello there again. My name is Chet Shupe. I'm the author of a book, Rediscovering the Wisdom of Human Nature, How Civilization Destroys Happiness. The second edition now. I just published the second edition. Well, this is the last time I'm going to be with you folks on the Storytellers series, and I'm going to miss it. It's been a real pleasure to have this opportunity that Author's Magnet affords us to share our story. And I really appreciate the comments. They've been pretty good. And of course, that's encouraging to someone who spent a good part of his life trying to say something, that the idea that some people might find it significant. For this final, in the past, I've let the computer read the book because I have a voice hoarseness problem and I'm not a real good reader. So the computer could read it faster. And but I was told by someone that, well, maybe some of the people would like to hear the author reads something he's written. And so I've been practicing this morning, trying to get my voice cleared up. And so I'll give it a try this morning, see if you can bear with me. What I'm going to read is called Mankind's Hidden Problem. Now, this is not a part of the book. I wrote it after the second edition went to press. I wrote it as a description of the book. And so it provides a pretty good overview of what the whole book's about in a little over 1,000 words. And so I'm going to start out with that today, and then we can discuss it. This is going to takes a computer about 9 minutes to read. This takes me about 11 or 12. So anyhow, we'll see how it goes. And it's written in second person because it's a description of the book, and so I'm going to read it in second person. Mankind's hidden problem. In terms of quality of life, we modern humans are staring into an abyss regarding what the future will bring. A host of concerns, from governmental failure to economic instability, mental illness, social isolation, substance abuse, family dysfunction, international conflict, and habitat destruction, are already threatening to overwhelm us. How is it possible that we, the most intelligent beings on earth, find ourselves in such a disquieting situation? The increasing degree to which modern humans suffer from the complexities and stresses of our institutional society is a red flag that we are ignoring. Could it be that what we see as problems really constitute the mounting evidence of the incompatibility of the modern way of life with the way Homo sapiens evolved to live? Chet Shupe, that's me, believes so. In rediscovering the wisdom of human nature, he addresses the human condition from the perspective that the above problems have no resolution because they are symptoms of the real problem that has remained hidden for thousands of years. A real problem is a mistaken belief that humans possess no inborn wisdom. Our belief that we exist without the innate sensibilities needed to maintain order causes us to rely on centralized systems of control to impose an artificial order. Consequently, we have in effect outlawed the wisdom of human nature, causing us to live an artificial life in which we suffer. Being forced to live in denial of our inborn wisdom is the fountainhead of human misery. Yes, this artificial order enables us to enjoy the benefits of living in mass societies. But legally imposed order fails us in two essential ways. First, it prevents us from being true to ourselves, our inborn wisdom, even in our personal relationships. Secondly, as subjects of institutions, we have no choice other than to serve the state by complying with prescribed law. Thus, are not free to serve life by complying with our innate wisdom. Shupe argues that recovery will never result from people behaving better, having better intentions, or creating better laws. Evolution created each species to regulate itself according to the wisdom of the instincts shared by all members of the species. For Homo sapiens, that means living in spiritual freedom, not under a set of man-made laws and mores. The hidden problem for modern humans is that we abandon our instincts, cutting ourselves off from the wisdom of evolution. We went our own way, substituting artificial laws for the laws of life, and somehow we wonder now why we're not happy. The institutionally imposed laws that we created in error certainly appear convincing enough when inscribed on stone tablets, but imposing them destroys the natural social order among humans. When living in a reality created by prescribed laws, life becomes strange, so strange that we cannot emotionally engage in it. When forced to depend on our intellect to survive, rather than trust the feelings evolution gave us, we suffer. We then cope with the suffering by worshiping the very empires that subjugate us, by promising us a brighter future, one that will alleviate the suffering. This further tightens the grip through which governments attain absolute dominion over each of our lives. Governments control us and control even our leaders through monetary and legal systems, which render every human personally responsible for his or her own well-being. But from the human spirit's perspective, we're here to serve life, not self. In the social order overseen by the human spirit, we don't have to take care of ourselves. Our sisters and brothers take care of us, not because they have to, but because they love doing so. It is in this organic, interdependent way of life that human beings find contentment and happiness. In Shupe's mind, the question is not how to solve the world's problems. The question is, how do we embrace a way of life in which we are free to be true to our inborn wisdom? Then, given time, the world's problems would resolve themselves. In other words, nature will heal itself if we let it. Our role in that process is to do what evolution designed us to do. Take pleasure by being true to the wisdom nature gave us. We are born with all the wisdom we need to take care of life. All we need is the opportunity, the freedom to be true to how we feel. Left to its own devices, life automatically organizes itself so that countless species can live in sufficient harmony for life to flourish on this planet. To understand the beauty of our natural way of life, we must first recognize why feelings exist. Feelings are the core feature of existence for all animate beings. In mankind's case, they reveal the wisdom of human nature. Our inborn wisdom rewards us with feelings of pleasure whenever we do things that serve life, and punish us with pain whenever we behave in ways that do not serve life. In this way, feelings constitute the map of life on Earth. In effect, an inborn GPS for every animate being. From the pain of hunger or fatigue, we know it's time to take pleasure in eating or sleeping. Two activities essential to our species' well-being. From the pain of loneliness, our GPS tells us that we need to live in interdependence with sisters and brothers, in a way of life in which we mutually take pleasure by putting our sisters and brothers' needs above our own. This is a signal activity that contributes to our species' well-being. As institutional subjects of the modern world, however, we depend on money for survival, not on social groups whose members are bonded by their need for one another. This explains why the loneliness of social isolation is endemic in our world, not the contentment of love and belonging. And because personal accountability that is inherent in monetary systems forces each of us to place our own needs above those of the people around us, we are not free to contribute to our species' well-being in our personal relationships. Little wonder our species is in trouble. Shupe says, there can never be a prescribed solution to the world's problems. Life itself is a problem. We're not here to eliminate hardships. We're here to celebrate life by cooperating with others to overcome life's problems. With nothing to overcome, there would be nothing to celebrate. Sisterhoods and brotherhoods are our natural homes and the foundation for the natural social order among humans. Only interdependent relationships can free us to live in the moment, thus celebrate our existence by helping each other manage life's future uncertainties as they come to light. But is it even possible to again trust our lives to the human spirit after thousands of years of living in a state of spiritual distrust? One so profound that we employ legal systems, armies, and weapons of mass destruction to protect ourselves from one another? There's no answer to that question because common sense tells us the future is unknowable. Spiritual freedom, if it does occur, will not result from better plans, but from a spiritual awakening, a reawakening to the needs of our very own souls. Our spirits will then lead us to spiritual homes, the kind in which we accept one another for what nature made us, instead of what an artificially imposed order says we're supposed to be. Shupe authored Rediscovering the Wisdom of Human Nature, How Civilization Destroys Happiness, in the hope that it will bring about a reawakening to the needs of our own souls. Well, thank you for listening and putting up with that. Before I go into the discussion, I see Jeffrey has a question there, but before I relate to those, I need to say apology for something I said on Wednesday. I was describing that, I'm trying to tell people how life is organized. So when we find out, we'll find out that our suffering is not from dysfunctional people, it's from a dysfunctional culture. And then we can stop blaming people for our suffering. We can stop blaming our spouse. We can stop blaming our boss. We can stop blaming ourselves first. Our boss, our spouse, our president. And then I said something I regret saying, and we can stop blaming Hitler. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in context, but that can be taken out of context so that people might think that I condone what Hitler did. And I apologize for that. I'm not used to social media where this is going to go out there. And I need to get my act together because, I want to make a point, but I need to make my points in ways that it's not possible to offend people who suffered from the fact that Hitler suffered from the decisions that Hitler made. So I just want to say that whoever has suffered from the acts of Hitler, I'll assure you, you have done nothing to deserve being offended by me. And I apologize profusely for that mistake. And I promise I'll never make it again. And hopefully I won't make other similar mistakes. Okay, Jeffrey had a comment up there. Jeffrey, modern society has caused us to be disconnected, have meaningful relationship with ourselves. Do you believe that self-awareness is the first step to that? No, self-awareness. The only way we can be self-aware is through interdependent relationships. We can't be self-aware in a closet. In other words, we're here to relate. The way we react to the people around us tells us who we are. And when you're with a bunch of brothers, if you're with other people whom you're dependent on to survive, like after a storm or after a hurricane or soldiers in battle, there's where you find out, become self-aware. Because in those reactions, you will discover something that you can't discover in a closet. And that is that I care more about the well-being of my buddies or my sisters and brothers than I care about my own. You'll discover that, and you won't discover it in the closet. You won't discover it at school. There's only one way you can discover who you are, and that's to be spiritually alive to your surroundings. Well, when you have to deny how you feel 1,000 times a day just to go to a job you hate, you're not discovering anything about who you are. You have to be in interdependent relationships, and then I think the whole human race would become amazed by what we are. We're actually more concerned about the well-being of life than we're concerned about our own existence from our spirit's point of view, our soul's point of view, our innate wisdom's point of view, our human nature's point of view. They're all the same. And you will find out that we don't need atomic weapons to protect ourselves from one another. I mean, I'm not saying the natural life is without conflict, but the conflict out there doesn't destroy life. It serves life. It doesn't destroy life. I mean, for people who dream of a world without conflict, that's crazy. We have to start to relate it how things are instead of how we think they should be in order to find out who we are. Well, I appreciate it. Bob, thank you for that question. Bob, your voice gives your words gravitas and weight. Shupe, you should speak more, but of course I can imagine it's not good. Well, no, it's no problem for my throat. I mean, you people have to listen to it. It's problem for your ears, not my throat. I wish that I could give it with but I appreciate your comment. And okay, Ethan, we need to rediscover the wisdom of human nature in order to survive as a species and as chief stewards of this planet. Well, hey, I like that. Yes, I mean, from my point of view, I was talking about an existential problem here. You know, people say, well, we can't go back to living with nature because there's now 8 billion of us. You know, I'm going to say, whenever we think, do you think we can intentionally solve the problem over populating the earth? I mean, nature is going to make all these decisions in the end. And I believe that nature will literally force us back to live with nature, because we'll finally find out that these mass cultures don't work. And the silver lining to all this is that we'll find out we're far happier when we're back taking care of one another than now when we're planning to inhabit the universe. I mean, that's what we were put here for, is take care of life, not inhabit the universe. And you said chief stewards. No, when we go back to living with nature, then we're no more chief stewards of a planet than any other species. The eagles are stewards of the planet. The elephants, I mean, we evolved. Our wisdom came out of millions of years of evolution to take care of not only the life of our species, but to take care of the planet, because the species needs the planet to live on. So it all works as one thing, but the massive amount of wisdom, you know, in each individual's brain, in the bird brain, and the elephant brain, and our brain, the massive amount of wisdom it takes to take care of all this at one time so life can flourish. Now, I'm not talking about an ideal existence. I mean, there's predation in the natural world. There is hardships. There is all these things. But our emotions evolved to celebrate those, evolved to celebrate hardships. And there's a younger, I can't think of his first name. He wrote the book Tribe. And he says, humans don't mind hardship. As a matter of fact, we thrive with hardship. He said, what humans mind is not feeling necessary. And he said, our modern way of life has become excellent at making everyone not feel necessary. You had another one up there. Can you bring that one back? Friends, can't imagine the amount of research that you have put forth coming up with such a substantial book. Well, I appreciate that, Fran. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of it has to do with what I've personally experienced in life. I mean, yes, I've read books and read things. And then, as I've said in some of my previous ones, I'm an electronics engineer by profession. And so I know system control theory. And from the perspective, I won't go into the whole story now, but there came a time in my life when I could see that human life was totally out of control. And so I decided I'm going to apply system control theory, the science of system control theory, see if I can figure out why on earth we seem so dysfunctional. And so basically system control theory says you can't control the indefinite future to a meaningful end by any means, let alone by prescribed laws. And so from system control theory, the idea that a mass culture can exist for very long is sort of like, to me, it's like that water can flow uphill. I mean, it's just what we're doing by subjugating ourselves to institutions. We are doing something that nature cannot allow. Now, all we have to learn is to trust your life to the spirits of your brothers and sisters, not to your designs, your plans. See, we don't have to learn much. But in view of the fact that right now, all of our lives, including mine, my identity is in my plans. My identity is not in my instincts. It's not in my relationship to some sisters and brothers. It's in my plans. And so I would have to die to who I am in order to go back to nature. But I think, nature is going to have the final word. I promise you, it is sovereign, not the state. And so we will, we're in a lot of pain now. That's why I was in pain. That's why I studied this. That's why I learned pain. No, you have to be true to life, not to the state. If you expect to survive, if you expect to be happy as an individual, and if you expect to survive as a species. Thanks for the question. And Nita, let me see what Nita had. Nita, true hardships is, well, yeah, I'm saying that, there would be, if there was no dark, there would be no light. How do we say it? I mean, life is a balance between, if there was no issues, I mean, if we could have everything the state promises, and that someday arrive at a future in which we can have anything we want and don't have anything to get it. I don't know what it promises, but that would be the ultimate, I suppose. Well, our spirits would be useless in that world. They would have nothing to do. It wouldn't. You live in that world for a million years, and we'd lose our ability to feel. Just like birds that don't need their wings to fly, eventually lose their ability to fly. So, dealing with the hardships. See, that's why we thrive, because how can we serve life? How can we serve our brothers and sisters if there's no hardships? Bob, it's very pleasing to the ears. Reminds me of listening to my professor back in the day. Well, I appreciate that comment. You know, I spent my life my profession as an electronics engineer, but I'd probably preferred being a teacher. My life would have been much more richer because I've been dealing more with life itself. And to think that you compare me with some professor that you apparently loved, that makes me feel good. Thank you. Well, I'm coming down to 1 minute left, and so I need to. Miguel really is inspiring and appreciating Mr. Chet. Thank you. No, I have very much enjoyed these sessions. I very much appreciated the commentaries, and I've been working on this thing for what I call the philosophy of spiritual freedom for well, really for 40 years. And it's been a lonely journey. I mean, it's been shocking to me, and it's been a lonely journey to live in a world in which the way you see reality is almost the opposite, is virtually the opposite of everyone around you. Okay, well, I want to read something. I don't know if I think I read this in my first deal. This is a little promotion deal I wrote for the book, and it summarizes my whole philosophy in about 80 words. Took me 2 years. I wrote this at two words a year. Well, not really, but that's how long it took me to get this, to become aware enough to write it. What's real and what isn't? What's real for social beings is largely how we feel in our relationships with the people around us. If we are connected to them because we need each other to survive, then love is real. If not, loneliness is real. What's not real? Beliefs, legal systems, money, and ideologies are not real because they require us to deny how we feel in the moment to realize the futures they promise. Promised futures are lonely. Being forced to sell our souls to get there, we will not find love awaiting us upon our arrival. Thank you all so very much. And I will say again that I view nature as God. I want to bless you all by saying, or I want nature bless us all. We need it. Thank you all.